Okay. Okay. So before starting the today's session, we just give a brief to the last lecture. In the last lecture, we have talked about the how big data term has been evolved. For this purpose, we have given the examples of social media sites, satellite information, sensor information, etc. And to prove this need, uh, other scenarios we have considered, like mobile device systems. And after the evolution history, we have discussed about how big data is relevant and valuable for our daily life needs, and how it is giving a profit to the industries or organizations. And in the last discussion, we have discussed about some of the application uh, of big data, like recommender system, mobile advertising, personalized medicine, etc. And so now today we will discuss about what are the major sources through which uh, this big data industries gets data. Uh, Now, as you are watching in the screen, there are majorly three data source classified in big data scenario. That is, first one is machine data, which simply refers the data generated by the machines. And similarly, second one is the people generated data, and the last one is the organizational generated data. So let's discuss with the first one, which is machine generated data. Um, Definitely, the general meaning of it is the information or data that are generated by the mechanical devices. For example, satellite phones, IoT devices, mobile devices, and sensor information imposed over the rural areas and even urban areas. And now we'll let's discuss with the first bigger example of this machine generated data. That is a aeroplane. So we all know about the aeroplane, and as the terms of data generation, an aeroplane, a single aeroplane in a minute can generate 335 GB around data, which which is in total approximately 20 TB data per hour in the airline. Uh, this data can include the sensor information imposed over the panels or rockets over the aeroplane. This can be the coordination information. This can be the pressure information. This can be also information that the plane is communicating with the ground management, which those messages are communicating directly with the plane infrastructure. And this this lot this kind of information are basically used to get the information about the current situation of the aeroplane, where it is locating, what are the current weather info around there, and this all information reduces whether our plane is not going to be affected by any kind of malfunction. Similarly, we can consider another machine generated data example as a satellite. Satellite also generates an enormous amount of data. It generates large pictures of areas, or some areas continuously monitored and some areas not monitored in continuous way, but at a certain point of time they are monitored. So all these information shared by the satellite is also getting a huge since it is a continuous process or real-time scenario in which satellite shares information to the organization they are built for. And similarly, we can consider another kind of device which plays basically a vital role in our daily routine life, in which we spend a lot of hours of a day of our daily life. And definitely if we are using some device, then we are sharing some information. And that information may be either directly involved by us or indirectly, but this information is continuously shared by the parenting organization related to the phone companies, government, or another apps that are continuously monitoring our uh, information through their apps. Major source of information sharing is our geolocation, and based on this information, the further beneficial decision taken place by the companies and organization. Definitely, this is a mobile device, and uh, so this is major general devices that are used in our day. That are the major source of the information generation. And now we let's talk about the another kind of machine, which is smart devices. Now, first question arises: what makes them smart? So, anything that can be shared smart must have some kind of features. In case of the devices, the major
Sir, your voice quality is very low.
okay, so I'm not audible. Now I am audible. Hello.
Sir, there is a big noise behind your voice.
Now I am audible.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Okay, so shall I continue? So now we are talking about the smart devices. So as earlier I said that device is said to be smarter if it definitely has some kind of capabilities or features. So the major characterization of these features for the smart devices is in three components. First is how their devices are connected with other devices or network, how they are sharing the information. Means a device that is in its own can communicate with the other devices. They can be considered as a part of smart devices. And if another kind of feature they have, that is that feature is basically collecting data in a continuous way and analyze this data automatically to provide some environmental context or some strategic information to the particular user to whom they to whom they are using this smart devices. In a section of this, we can take example of activity tracker. We can you consider this as a major part of nowadays people considering it as a part of their health monitoring system. And so due to this these activity tracker will also have a lot of features that are multifunction. These features basically includes in general monitoring heart rates, distances covered by the user, calories they burn during a day, a month, or year. It monitors also the reminders, sleep monitoring, and sometimes it also uh, provides the intimation of the some alerts like calls or messages. And based on the information they gather, they provides the suggestions to the user that they have uh, what kind of uh, actions they need to monitor to mitigate their health issues or in case of monitoring of health system. And for another type of services like alarm reminder, it provides notification to the user and notified that they can act accordingly. So now we understand how these machine plays a role in our daily life. Now the major things come, what size it can produce. Now we are, as we have seen that a plane can generate a huge amount of data in a single hour. Now let's we consolidated for a firm that is uh, an airlines firm that have a number of aeroplanes, and each aeroplane is sharing this amount of data continuously with the firm. Then if you multiply this simple mathematical formulation, that if you multiply the number of machines that are sensing the information and with the data they are producing, then this simple multiplication gives a very vast amount of information that is going to be not easy to handle without the help of some source that take over this kind of information, which is basically in general in our according to our course, big data. So now let's move further. And another kind of source of data to the big data industry is pupil generated data. In the previous, when we have talked about the machine generated data, most of the data is in a structured way. But when we talk about the pupils generated data, then most of the data generated by a pupil are in unstructured way. What is the difference between structured and unstructured? We will cover it later. Okay. Now, first we talk about the how people generates data. So first example of this is the social sites. People write some status. It provides some multimedia to it, like images, videos, etc. Even when we talk about the Facebook or another social media sites, they have provided you the reaction facilities also, and they calculate, they monitor your reaction to the particular post also, to find out the behavior towards something, some information that was shared on that post, basically. Another kind of people generated data is through emails, and email can contain a lot of data. It has the information of the sender, it has the information of the receiver, it has the information of the network it is going to be traveled, about the domains, even about body of the an email consists of the text. It can contain multimedia information also. That means a single email can have uh, uh, different kind of data, which includes multimedia also, textual also, and some kind of network data also. And this particular information is continuously monitored by the uh, organizations. Those are associated with particular scenarios, not for the all. In the most of the cases it is secured, but some cases they monitor these information to detect what kind of emails are spammed or not. For these purposes they continuously monitor the email content also. And let's talk about the another source of the people generated data in kind of YouTube, where the uh, user watch videos, search videos, and according to the search they continuously in real time monitors the user's choice and recommend the uh, suggested videos. Even they advertise based on the user's interest to make profit to the organization they are advertised for. And similarly, another kind of people generated is the internet search, which we in everyday life when we start in internet, we start searching over internet. Not most of the time we are not directly going to the particular domain. We always try to take the help of the search engines that take care about the our choices. And another kind of for example, let's say you can take Instagram, bloggers, and Google Drives, and another social sites, data sharing sites. All these sites are centered through the pupil, and the pupil generates data without considering how it is going to be stored, how it is going to be maintained by the firm that services they are using. So uh, people acts very conductively towards the data generation. And let's take an example of Facebook. According to the survey, Facebook generates per day more than 30 petabytes, which is far more greater than the US academic libraries. And so here I have given some another companies per day data process. For example, eBay processed 100 petabytes, Google processed around 100 petabytes, Facebook processed 10, 30 petabytes, Twitter processed around 100 terabyte, and Spotify uh, uh, process for 64 terabytes data per day. So you can assume that how huge amount of data they are going to process and generate insights from it according to the business that they are dealing with. Now, now we are going to the main concern, that is unstructured. So before understanding this, we talk about the structured data. Structured data means the data that is in a formatted way. For example, all the database we have been using so far, like Oracle database, SQL Server with database, Sybase, MySQL, IBM DB2, all these kinds of database are well structured database. That means the user have to put the value or information based on the schema provided to them. Means if a schema said that the first value should be the integer, that means you have to be bound to put information in the integer format only. Not you cannot put character information if it is bounded to the integer. And every database in traditional time, even current scenarios, these kind of databases uses the structured data. But when we says about the unstructured data, that means anything that is not formatted. It can include the images, it can include the PPT content, which is again, if we talk about the PPT again can contain information in the textual format, graphics format, image format, hyperlinks, and etc. A number of a kind of data alone a PPT can contain. Similarly, the case for the PDF, XML. Again, XML is a kind of formatted way, but we said it unstructured because this is not the way our database works. And similarly, HTML pages, similarly for the audio files, similarly for captured information. So we can say in general, the data generated nowadays, 80 to 90% of the entire data is unstructured. This is the reason these commercial organizations, some of the commercial organizations provided in the database system, are going to backfire back are going on back foot, because first limitation, they cannot maintain this kind of the this huge amount of data. Second thing, the diversity of the data makes difficult them to uh, gather information and fragment these information. For example, you post a single information over the social site that contains some textual information, then you associate an image with it. So when the firms monitor this kind of post, they get not only the textual information, they get the imaging information. Even if someone reacted over it, then the reaction information will be network through form of the JSON or another material, which is again a structured way, but the whole data collectively creates a unstructured format for the information mining purpose. So there are some examples of how fastly data is generated by these sites, including Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Google's, Insta as well. And this velocity is very high to monitor actually. So now we are going to the last source of data according to our characterization, that is organizational generated data. Okay, so in the previous we said that the most of the data generated by the people are unstructured. Similarly, for organizations, always for within organization they follow the structured format. They are not rely on the unstructured information within organization. Uh, uh, but they can access unstructured information for their benefits. But within our organization, the data they maintain, they prefer to maintain data in a structured way. Here I have used a term often siloed. Siloed means basically staggering of data or differentiation, maintaining information different sources. Even they are not going to communicate with each other in a proper manner. So the major source of data generation to the organization is a commercial transaction that takes place through the commercial sites, or even the local marts through the cards, etc. And the government open data. Similarly, the banking record they maintains uh, stock portfolios, trading systems, credit cards produces structured data, how often the customer is uh, purchasing through it, or where he is going, what is he or she is purchasing, and according to whether the transactions are fraudulent or not. They all insights have been generated through the organization by the history of the cards and e-commerce sites, medical records. These all are maintained in a formatted way, structured way. That means they have a defined set of fields through which the record is going to be maintained. And there are a lot of sources through which the organizations maintain their data. Now let's take example of sale transaction data. So let's talk about the sale transaction. A single transaction can be monitored in order to detect how products are correlated. Means they can uh, access the information of the slave from the sale, and detect how many same kind of customer buy the same product, and based on that information they creates correlation of the products, and this correlation gives them insight how close products are, and how they should be stacked with, or how they should be pop up to the user if they are accessing to the commercial sites. Hello, is there any issue? No, I think so. So this sales data is monitored in order to estimate demands of the customers. It captures the fraudulent activities, whether any kind of fraud occurred over it or not, and some another kind of information plus analytics used to generate the better prediction for the organization. Here's the example of how organization data are maintained. Here I have given a table that has some sale ID, time, custom, product ID, and quantity. These are all are predefined information. They have defined data types for the information to be put and to be maintained in a particular format way. So it is easy to monitor, to inference this information. There are various sources of data that are produced that produces structured data, like XML produces structured data, CSV files produces structured data, JSON files, SQL files, so OOPs, and there are enormous type of hardware and software products that produce structured data. Now, what the logic behind the data silos within an organization? The major hindrance with the big organization is the creation of data silos. That means their segments works in isolated manners. Due to the fact that they work in isolation, they are not continuously sharing their information with each other, and that lacks the creation of or generation of opportunities. And this allows is a major drawback for the organization that doesn't maintain a communication network between these allows, because this kind of information are monitored on a monthly basis or uh, day or quarterly basis, and that this kind of batch access of the system uh, doesn't give the real-time insights. Maybe sometimes the organization misses the opportunities due to the gap between the information sharing and the judgment produced. Here is the example of a large number of sources tailored on the same slide, where you can see that the high contribution of data generation is through the machine generated data, which includes sensors, satellite videos, recording, etc. And similarly, human generated data that includes web log, emails, documents, social site information, and for particularly a smaller fraction that is consist of the OLTP, online transaction based data, which is a predefined data based on some data bases like SQL and Oracle monitored through it. You can see the growth. The data generated by the business process is 10 times lesser than the data generated by the humans, and similarly this data is 100 times lesser than the machine generates in the current scenario.